I never thought I'd be the guy writing something like this, but here I am. My name's Mike, and I want to get this off my chest because I'm still trying to process what happened. I've been married to Lisa for about 5 years now. She's always been a little difficult, bitchy, quick to lie, and honestly not the most loyal person I've known. But I loved her. We had our good moments, and I thought we were solid, or at least I did until my birthday. That day was supposed to be a celebration. I invited some friends out to our favorite bar downtown: Tom, Jamie, Ryan, even my brother Jake. I wanted to unwind and just enjoy some drinks, maybe indulge a little because, honestly, I worked my ass off all year. Lisa was invited too, but she wasn't really into the whole birthday bash thing. She showed up late, looking like she'd been pulled through a hedge backwards, but she was there. Not much seemed out of the ordinary at first. The problem started subtly. Lisa's been acting weird lately, shorter tempers, avoiding me more than usual, and she's been secretive with her phone. I'd catch her texting when she thought I wasn't looking, and she'd quickly hide her screen. Small things, but enough to make me suspicious. I brushed it off initially, telling myself maybe she's just stressed or worried about work. But I couldn't shake the feeling that something was off. Then came the night of my birthday. I was having a blast with my friends, cracking jokes and celebrating the fact that I finally hit a milestone. I even managed to forget my worries for a couple of hours. At some point, Lisa pulled me aside to talk, which was odd because she hardly ever did that in front of everyone. She looked tense, and I remember her saying, "Mike, I need to tell you something. I've been feeling like we've been drifting apart lately, and I don't know what to do." I was about to comfort her, tell her it was just a rough patch, but then she looked at me with this weird, almost desperate expression. That's when she said she'd been feeling neglected, and she'd been talking to someone who listened to her, understood her. I was trying to process her words when she suddenly mentioned she needed to leave early because she wasn't feeling well. I didn't press her much at the time. I was more focused on keeping the party going, but a part of me felt uneasy. Later that night, after everyone had gone home, I decided to check her phone. I figured maybe she was just venting, or maybe she was cheating. Honestly, I was suspicious, but I didn't want to jump to conclusions. I just wanted to see if there was anything there. What I found was worse than I imagined. There were messages, explicit messages, with a guy named Jason. I recognized him immediately. He was the bartender from my favorite local bar, one I'd known for a long time. They'd been talking for weeks, maybe longer, about sex, about meeting up, about sneaking around. The messages weren't just flirty, they were outright freaky, and what crushed me was how casual she was about it. She called him babe, said she missed him, and even joked about how she'd love to have sex with him in the storage room at the bar, right in front of everyone, it seemed. I remember staring at the screen, feeling like I'd been punched in the stomach. My birthday was supposed to be a celebration of my life, and instead I found out the woman I loved had been cheating on me, lying right to my face. I was furious. Not just sad, but angry, so angry I wanted to smash something. I couldn't believe she'd do this to me, especially with someone I knew, someone I'd seen behind the bar 1,000 times. I felt betrayed in every possible way. I caught her in the act, and it was all right there in black and white. I didn't even sleep that night, just stared at the ceiling, trying to understand how she could do this to me, how she could lie so easily, so convincingly, even when I'd sensed something was wrong. That was the beginning of it all. I knew I had to confront her, but I wasn't sure how or when. All I knew was that everything I thought I knew about my marriage was now shattered. The next morning, I woke up feeling like I'd been hit by a truck. My mind kept replaying the night before, the messages, the betrayal, her stupid lies about being stressed or needing space. I couldn't believe she'd lied so much, so easily. I kept thinking about how she'd looked me in the eyes, how she'd told me she loved me, all while sneaking off to meet Jason at the bar. That thought made my stomach churn. I knew I had to confront her. I waited until she came out of the shower, pretending to be normal. She looked at me with that typical plastic smirk she always wore when she was hiding something. I could see the nervousness in her eyes, but she played it cool, like she had total control. I asked her if she'd been cheating on me, and she rolled her eyes, scoffing like I was an idiot. "You're overreacting, Mike. You always jump to conclusions," she said, brushing past me with that bitchy attitude she couldn't hide. I pulled her back, showing her the messages on my phone. Her face went pale for a second, then she scoffed again like I was the one being ridiculous. "That's just some stupid joke, Mike. You're reading too much into it." She told me Jason was just her friend, and that I was paranoid because I'd been working too much or whatever. But I knew better. I saw the truth in her eyes, the guilt, the panic. She was lying through her teeth, and I was losing my mind trying to hold myself together. I remember feeling my fists tighten and my voice shake with rage. I told her I saw everything, how she'd been sneaking around, how she called him babe, how she wanted to cheat on me in the storage room. Her response: she said I was being crazy, that I was jealous, and that I was making a mountain out of a molehill. That was her standard line: deny, dismiss, lie. But I wasn't buying it anymore. I could see the cracks in her facade, and I knew she was guilty. The worst part was her shrugging it off like it was nothing. "Look, Mike, I don't know what you want me to say. Yeah, I've been talking to Jason. So what? It's not like I actually cheat on you. I just needed someone to talk to." That's when I realized how much contempt she had for me. She was so dismissive, so bitchy about it all, like I was just some idiot who didn't understand her life or her needs. I wanted to scream. Instead, I just told her she needed to leave. I told her I'd had enough of her lies and bullshit. She put on her worst smirk and said she was going to think about things. Yeah, right. Like she was going to admit she'd been screwing around, like she was going to apologize. No way. That's when I started planning my revenge. I knew I couldn't just let her get away with it, not after what she'd done. She thought she was clever, playing her little game, but I was about to show her that I wasn't a fool. I spent the rest of the day watching her, trying to figure out what her next move would be. She went out of her way to act normal, cooking dinner, pretending everything was fine. Meanwhile, I was combing through every message, every detail, planning how I'd get her back. I knew I couldn't just leave her, not without making her pay for what she did. And I wasn't talking about some petty argument or a quick split. No, I wanted to make her regret ever crossing me. That night, I made a decision. I'd catch her in the act. Again, I was going to get proof, real proof, that she was still sneaking around. I had a plan to set a trap. I knew Jason's schedule, knew when he was working, and I even managed to get into the bar's security footage archives. I'd be watching her. I'd find out just how far she'd go and what she was really up to. I wasn't going to be the fool anymore. I sat there thinking about how much I loved her once, how I thought we had something real, and how all of that was just gone now. But if there's one thing I've learned, it's that betrayal like this doesn't just hurt, it burns. And I was determined to make her feel it. I didn't care if it meant tearing everything apart. Because at this point, she'd already torn me apart and I was just getting started. That night, I couldn't sleep. My mind was racing, going over every detail, every lie I'd been fed. I knew I needed firm proof before I did anything drastic. So I stayed up, watching the security footage from the bar's cameras. I had access now, gotten it through a contact I knew from some tech circles. I wanted to see what she was doing when she said she was just talking or feeling unwell. Guess what? I saw everything. Around midnight, she left the house looking suspiciously eager. She hurried into her car, and I followed her with a hidden camera I set up in my backpack. She drove straight to the bar, and I parked a few blocks away, watching her slip inside. The place was dead, just a few staff and Jason behind the bar. I saw her go into the storage room, and from what I could tell, she stayed in there for almost 20 minutes. I couldn't see her face clearly, but I could listen to the audio recording I'd secretly taped. The sounds confirmed what I'd already guessed. They weren't just talking. I could hear her voice, low and kind of breathless, saying things like, "Are you sure no one will come in? And I want you so bad, Jason," followed by muffled noises that I didn't need to see to know what was happening. My stomach turned. That was more than just flirting. That was sex, plain and simple. They were in there doing whatever they wanted, and I was out here completely blindsided. I felt like my world was collapsing. I stayed there silent, my fists clenched, heart pounding. I couldn't believe this was happening. She told me she was feeling off, stressed, and yet she was in that storage room with him having sex. I kept replaying everything, feeling the burn of betrayal. How could she lie to me so easily? How could she betray everything we built over some guy who was just her bartender? It made me sick. I knew I had to confront her again, but this time face to face with even more proof. The next morning I waited until she left for work. I didn't want her to suspect anything. I cleaned the house, got everything ready, and then I set up the camera system I'd installed. I wanted to catch her in the act again if she decided to repeat her little game. I wasn't planning to give her a second chance to lie her way out of it. I was going to show her that I had all the evidence I needed. When she came home that night, I was ready. I greeted her at the door with my phone in my hand, streaming live footage directly from the hidden cameras I'd hidden around the house. I made her sit down and watched her reactions as the footage played. Her face went white. She knew she was caught. She tried to deny everything at first, but the evidence was irrefutable. She looked at me with a mix of contempt and desperation, trying to spin it, to lie her way out of it again. "Mike, it's not what it looks like," she said, her voice trembling with a mixture of anger and defiance. "It was just one time, I was stressed and Jason was there and it just happened. It doesn't mean I don't love you." I couldn't believe her. Those words felt like a slap. I looked at her and saw how she was trying to dismiss it, trying to make me feel guilty for catching her. The audacity. She wanted to act like she was the victim, like I was overreacting. But I knew better. I saw her true colors, and I wasn't going to let her manipulate me anymore. I told her I was done. Done with her lies, her cheating, her sneaking around. I told her I deserved better, that she wasn't the person I thought she was. I told her she could pack her things and leave. Her reaction. She snapped at me, saying I was overreacting, that I was being jealous and controlling, like I was the crazy one. But I was past caring about her excuses. I'd made up my mind. She was finished. That night I watched her walk out the door with her suitcase, her head held high as if she was the victim. I felt a strange mixture of relief and heartbreak. Relief that I finally knew the truth and could start healing, heartbreak because I still loved her, or at least I did once. This whole thing changed everything. I couldn't look at her the same way anymore. The woman I married had turned into someone I didn't recognize, someone capable of such betrayal. I stayed up late, staring at the ceiling, trying to process what I'd just seen and felt. Part of me wanted to chase after her, to yell, to scream, to beg her to stay. But I knew that wouldn't work. I was done chasing ghosts. I had enough evidence to formally end things. And honestly, I felt a strange sense of clarity. I'd been blind for a long time, but now I saw her for who she really was. Now I just had to figure out how to move forward. The days that followed were a blur of anger, confusion, and a strange sense of relief. I knew I had to go through with the divorce. There was no way I could stay with someone who so easily betrayed me, lied to my face, and then did the unthinkable with Jason, the bartender I'd trusted for years. Still, it wasn't easy. Every time I sat alone, her face would pop into my mind, her bitchy smirk, her dismissive attitude when I confronted her. It cut deep. I remember sitting at my desk, staring at the paperwork I'd started, trying to get everything in order. All the evidence I had gathered, the recordings, the messages. It was overwhelming, but I knew I had to be meticulous. I wanted her to see that I wasn't just angry. I was precise, methodical. I wanted her to understand she'd lost everything because of her lies and her reckless need for some thrill with Jason. I also had to confront the reality that I wasn't just angry, I was hurt. Deep down, I still wanted to believe in my marriage, in her. But every time I saw her face, I remembered the sex in the storage room, the way she lied so effortlessly, the way she dismissed my feelings with that bitchy attitude. It made me feel stupid, used, and betrayed. I kept asking myself how I missed the signs, how I let her get away with so much for so long. One night I decided I'd had enough of waiting around for her to come home and try to justify herself. I called her up, told her I wanted to talk face to face. When she showed up, looking annoyed, of course, I was calm but firm. I laid out everything I knew. The footage, the messages, the timeline. Her face twisted like she was about to explode, but she kept her composure, just enough to throw out more lies. "Mike, you're crazy. This is just a misunderstanding. I swear I was just stressed and Jason was just being a good friend." That's when I lost it. I told her, don't lie to me anymore. I saw everything, the sex, the messages, the storage room. You're not just stressed, you're a cheat, Lisa. You lied to my face and I'm done. I want a divorce. Her eyes flashed with anger and she spat back. You're just jealous, Mike. You're insecure. You're overreacting because you're afraid of losing me. But you won't. I'm not leaving. You won't win this. That was the moment I realized how deep her narcissism ran. She truly believed she was invincible, untouchable, that her lies could just keep going, that I would fold, but I wasn't going to be that guy anymore. I told her I had enough, that I wasn't going to be manipulated or made to feel guilty. I repeated my decision. She was out. We were ending this and I was going to move on for my own sanity. The aftermath was messy. She screamed, called me names, accused me of being unstable, jealous, controlling. I just kept my cool, packed her things, and told her she could go. Watching her walk out the door for the last time was surreal. Part of me felt relief, another part felt broken, but I knew I had done the right thing. I wasn't going to sit around and be betrayed anymore. In the days that followed, I cut off contact, blocked her number, changed my locks, and started focusing on myself. I threw myself into work, hit the gym harder, and tried to piece my life back together. Every so often, I'd catch myself thinking about her, about the woman I loved, the woman I thought I knew, and then that memory was replaced by the disgust I felt when I saw what she was really capable of. That image of her cheating in the storage room with Jason keeps popping into my head when I'm alone, reminding me how badly I was played. I also started therapy. I needed to process everything, the betrayal, the anger, the heartbreak. It was hard. Some days I'd feel like giving up, like I'd never trust anyone again. But I kept reminding myself that I deserved better, that I was worth more than someone so selfish and deceitful. I also learned a lot about boundaries, about recognizing red flags early, about how to love myself enough to walk away from toxicity. Looking back now, I realize how much this whole thing changed me. I don't regret confronting her, even though it hurt like hell. It opened my eyes to the fact that some people are just not worth the effort. The biggest lesson: never ignore your gut. When something feels off, it probably is. And never let someone cheat and lie their way into your life without consequences. Because at the end of the day, you gotta protect your peace, even if it means walking away from someone you once loved. Months have gone by since she left, and I can't lie, it's been a hell of a ride. Some days I feel stronger, more like myself. Other days I get hit with waves of anger and sadness that hit me out of nowhere. I keep replaying everything: the betrayal, the sex in the storage room, her dismissive attitude when I confronted her. It's like I'm trying to convince myself I did the right thing, even when part of me still wishes I could turn back time and fix what was broken. I started dating again, slowly. Nothing serious yet, but I've gone out a few times. It's strange. After years of being married, the dating world feels so different. I keep thinking about how Lisa used to be so bitchy and manipulative, and I wonder if I'll ever find someone who's genuine. Honestly, I'm cautious now. I don't trust easily anymore, and I definitely don't want to get involved with someone who's going to lie or cheat behind my back. But I also know I deserve better. That's what keeps me going. One thing I've realized is how toxic my marriage was, even before I found out about the affair. Lisa always had this attitude, like she was better than everyone else, like she was entitled to do whatever she wanted. The lies, the sneaking around, it was just her way of life. I kept making excuses, telling myself maybe she was stressed, maybe she'd change. But after this, I see how naive I was. People don't change unless they truly want to, and she clearly didn't want to. She was happy to keep up her lies until everything fell apart. I also started setting boundaries, things I wish I'd done sooner. No more tolerating disrespect, no more ignoring red flags. I've learned to listen to my gut. If I sense someone isn't being honest, I pull back. I don't need that kind of drama in my life anymore. I want peace, I want honesty, and I want someone who respects me. That's what I'm focusing on now, building a new life, one that doesn't include betrayal or lies. Friends and family have been supportive, though some of them are still surprised by everything. They keep asking if I regret confronting her or if I miss her. Honestly, I don't. I'm glad I saw the truth early. I don't want to be with someone who treats me like I'm invisible or like her feelings are more important than mine. I want someone genuine, someone who values honesty and loyalty. I know I'll find her someday. Every now and then I think about that night in the storage room, the sex, her lies, her dismissiveness. It still hurts, but in a different way now. It's like I've accepted the betrayal, but I refuse to let it define me. I've come to accept that I was played, that I was blinded by love and trust. But I also learned that I'm stronger than I thought. I can survive heartbreak. I can rebuild. Looking ahead, I want to focus on myself. I've started taking classes, working on my career, and doing things I enjoy. I want to be happy again, not just surviving, but thriving. I know I'll always carry a bit of bitterness, maybe even anger, but I'm learning how to channel it into something positive. I want to remind myself that love isn't supposed to hurt like this, that some people just aren't worth the pain. And here's the thing I've realized. Sometimes, the most important thing you can do for yourself is walk away. Cut ties, move on, and never look back. Because in the end, your peace of mind matters more than holding onto someone who betrayed you. I still have scars, but I also have hope. Hope that someday, I'll find someone who's honest, loyal, and worthy of my trust. Someone who won't lie or cheat behind my back. And when that happens, I'll know I've finally moved past this nightmare. It's been a long, winding road since I found out what Lisa was doing behind my back. Honestly, I never thought I'd come out the other side feeling this way, stronger, more aware, and finally ready to move on. The betrayal cut deep, no doubt about it. But in some strange way, it also woke me up. I realized that I'd been settling for less than I deserved, someone who lied and cheated without a second thought. Looking back, I can see how blind I was for so long. I kept telling myself she was stressed or busy, that she'd change, that maybe it was just some mistake. But the truth was staring me right in the face from those secret messages, those recordings, that night in the storage room. Seeing everything so clearly now, I understand that I was just fooling myself into believing I could fix something fundamentally broken. Now, I focus on rebuilding, not just my life, but my sense of self. I've learned that no matter how much love you give, if someone doesn't respect you or values their own selfish needs over your feelings, it's time to walk away. I've also learned that justice isn't about revenge in the traditional sense. It's about protecting yourself from further damage and refusing to tolerate betrayal anymore. The pain, the anger, it all forced me to grow, to finally acknowledge my worth. The most important thing I've realized is that life goes on. No matter how shattered you feel at first, healing is possible. It's not easy, and there are days when the hurt feels fresh again, but over time the pain dulls. I've started to see a future for myself, one where I don't have to wonder what my wife is up to or whether she's lying to my face. I've started dating again, not because I'm rushing into anything, but because I want to remind myself that there are good people out there, people who are honest and loyal. I want to find genuine happiness, one that's not built on betrayal. And I want anyone reading this to know, if you're going through something similar, don't ignore the signs. Don't make excuses for someone's lies or infidelity. Trust your gut and don't be afraid to walk away. Your happiness and peace of mind are worth more than any temporary comfort or false love. Love isn't supposed to hurt this badly. It's supposed to make you feel safe, valued, and respected. Today, I'm finally at peace with what happened. I accept that Lisa's betrayal was her choice, not mine. I can't change her actions, but I can control how I respond to them. I've chosen to move forward, to learn from this, and to never let someone treat me like I'm invisible again. Because at the end of the day, the only person responsible for your happiness is you, and I refuse to let anyone take that away from me again.